Hello everybody. I have brought a couple of good friends with me today, Mark and Digger from Moonshiners. We're going to learn a little bit about reading the bead or checking the proof on your liquor or alcohol. And so we're going to start with the least accurate way of doing it, but the very traditional method. And so we've got a series of jars here. 60 proof, 80 proof. See a little cloudy, we're definitely in the tails here. 100 proof, 120 proof, basically 140 proof. We're 139 on this one. And Mark and Digger are gonna take turns and they're gonna work through those, checking, reading the beads.
When it comes to high proof liquor, high proof mimics low proof liquor as well with the bead. The big difference is you'll see the cloudiness a lot of times when you get real low. But little tiny beads, little tiny bubbles, they just fly off. Then they make big frog eyes at the tops and go away real fast, but you don't see the small bubbles hanging out real long in the high proof liquor.
This is this here is a 60 proof low proof liquor, which is definitely deep in the tails, and as you can see, it goes away as fast as well, but you don't have the great big bubbles initially that you have on the high proof. You know, this is about as far in from the spectrum as it can get. Digger's with 140 proof, and this is a 60 proof, and you can see the difference.
Big bubbles that go away fast, little bubbles go away fast.
These go away fast, plus the cloudiness and the water actually hanging out in the liquor.
What happens here now? Now Greg's more scientific than we are, but when we get this cloudiness now, the way I've always understood it, that's when your fusel oils start coming in on the back end and they bond with the water and cloud.
Absolutely, yeah. It's isopropyl alcohol, isobutyl alcohol is what you're seeing in the fusel oils.
Mm-hmm. I tell people a lot of times, they say, how do you figure that? Well, you give that about 4 or 5 good shakes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. That's the high proof liquor. I can't get that one. So you got 3. So you know you got 3 counts, you're up close to 150, 140. That's the rule of thumb on that.
All right, so now let's step it in. So that was 140 the Digger had, so now it's 120, and Mark has got 80 proof, so we're from 60 to 80.
You see, it's much clearer than the 60 proof was, which shows you're getting closer to the proof that you want. But you can still see it will not hold a bead.
Well, this will. You can get your count on it. We just always count it. You get them good shake. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know we're still not where we want to be with their proof. And the reason you worry about the proof in our world, you know, there's no taxes to get rid of. But when you're selling 120 proof liquor, out of every 5th jar, you're cheating yourself out of one, because that 20 proof would have made you another jar of liquor that you could have sold. So you want to get close to 100.
If you could have sold these, you could make a lot of money, but nobody really wanted these. So
yeah, cloudy liquor is hard to sell.
It's very hard to sell, and
it's hard to drink too.
Yeah, it'll bust your head, something fierce. Mm-hmm. But you can see Digger's jars are getting really close to the benchmark 100 proof.
All right, so why don't you take the 100 proof now?
We'll put them side by side.
So 100, 120 proof.
See, it's basically the same bead, just this one hangs out a little longer. This is ideal. This is 100 proof. That's what we're looking for.
Also, one of the important things is you get BB size beads, and they hang out about 50% below the liquid line and 50% above the line. So you're 50% alcohol, 50% water. It's going to float perfectly right in the middle there.
The old timers called those frog eyes.
That's right.
This is not the scientific way of doing it.
The scientific
Greg is going to show you the scientific way.
As scientific as we ever got was, and this is how I was taught as a young man just coming into adulthood, give it about 4 shakes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and all your bubbles are gone, and that's your 100 proof. That was the science back then. Now we're going to visit the real science.
And it wasn't exact. It could be off 6 or 8, 10 points in either direction.
Yeah, the water you use can change the bead.
That's right. So then stepping up, the next level is, and this is pretty typical, a lot of home distillers,
Hobbyists.
would use a proofs and trails hydrometer. And this is a hydrometer, and it's going to, you're going to float it in the alcohol, and it goes from 0 to 200 proof, or 0 to 100% alcohol, right? So you got percent and proof. Now the catch with this, and people forget, is it comes with conversion table. You have to do a temperature correction. So depending on the temperature of your liquor, you have to apply a correction to whatever you read.
You always want to fill your test jar first, because if you drop that hydrometer in one that's not fully ready to float it, it'll bust it. I tell people all the time that buy these, if you're going to buy a glass hydrometer, buy 4, because you're going to break them.
You're going to break. And these break all the time. And so you're going to be very, now normally I would have a little shorter jar, so I'm going to try to very carefully drop this in here.
Perfect.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. And what we would do, and typically I would fill this up a little more, or I'd have a little bit smaller jar, and you kind of give it a little twist to give it away, get it away from the edge of the jar, and then you're going to read the bottom of the meniscus to get your reading. But you're also going to put a temperature probe in there to get an accurate temperature reading while you're doing it, and then you'll apply your temperature correction and get a pretty accurate result. Now that's not accurate enough for the TTB. So the federal government, we got to be dead on for them. So there is a series of these hydrometers that are much thicker, and they're calibrated to different alcohol ranges. And so you would go through a series of those to check your proof. And once you're within, say 80 proof to maybe 120 proof, you might have a hydrometer for that range, and you'd drop that in there, and then you would actually do your temperature correction, same way we're doing here. And that's going to give you a much more accurate result. And then stepping up to our most accurate, and that is going to be a density meter, a full lab scale density meter like this. And this is TTB approved, so we can just simply take a little tubing, drop it in a sample. It'll pull like 15 milliliters of product in there and spit out a very, very exact proof to like 4 decimal places, which is ridiculously accurate. But that's what the TTB is looking for. So,
And it also prints out, printout.
and actually, yeah, you can print it out so you can, keep that verification of what that batch was.
Greg, a good indicator of temperature correction here. This has not been temperature corrected. So this hydrometer is actually reading 54% alcohol, which makes it 108 proof. That's what you would think it was, not taken into account for temperature correction.
That's probably 70, 75 degree, what do you think?
Yeah,
Alcohol,
yeah,
somewhere
probably,
in that
yep.
neighborhood. That's just me doing math.
So
Absolutely,
that's
yep.
8 points off just for temperature correction. So
And most backwoods moonshiners, hobbyists, they're probably not doing a temperature correction. So.
negative.
Never in my life.
So a lot of times they come in and they're like, I've got 120 proof. Somebody just bought it out of the back of somebody's car and they're real proud. I got 120 proof liquor here, and there's a good chance it probably isn't that high.
Right. Somebody, you could sell this to the average person and they would swear they're getting 108 proof liquor.
Oh, yeah.
And according to the hydrometer, they are. But in reality, they're not.
And that's about all I've got to say about that. Reading the bead.
Old school to new school, and honestly, I'm old school, but I'm liking new school a whole lot better. Greg, thank you again, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
We appreciate you for inviting us, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Love it.
Go get your Sugarland Shine store near you.